Thank you very much, MC. He has clearly introduced me. My name is Mundei Simon Peter. I'm the spokesperson or Public Relations Officer, Ministry of Internal Affairs. All protocol observed, ladies and gentlemen. I wish to, first of all, thank the organizers of this conference to have thought it wise and given me this opportunity to interface with young people, prefects at that. I have been a prefect all through school. I started being a prefect in P4 up to university. So I know many of you are going to be great people. We have a president seated here before us because you did not become prefects by mistake. You went through campaigns, so politics started early. And I want to encourage you to keep the same spirit as you progress through school. I know normally after lunch, it is quite difficult. People are dozing, and I can't blame you because that is a natural factor. After eating, biologically, I'm told you are supposed to have a nap after you have had your lunch, then you rest a bit for. But some of us are used to this rough life. We never sleep. Wake up at 4 a.m. and go to bed at after midnight. That's the life we go through daily. So I'm here. I'm not going to speak for so long because I know you have had a lot with previous speakers. I am just going to give you a small experience with especially the people we interface with as the ministry. But briefly, I want to ask a question. You answer me just by putting up your hand in the affirmative. If not, you don't put up your hand. How many of you possess passports? How many prefects here have passports, Uganda passports? Oh my God, very few. Now, I want to encourage all of you as leaders of students to apply and acquire passports. There are so many opportunities coming up, opportunities such as scholarships to study outside the country. And the first question they ask you is, do you have a passport? Now, I'm glad to inform you that I speak for the ministry that coordinates, processes, and issues the passport of the Republic of Uganda. That very, very respected document. And I normally encourage people, wherever I go, to apply for passports directly. You do it online. You don't have to go through anybody. If you get a phone, you can do it on your phone. If you have some data, and please do it yourself. Do not use third parties. We have eased the process, and acquiring a passport right now is one of the simplest things we have tried to make in this country. So please apply for a passport. Now, I want to say something about a drug and the effect of the drug and the law. What is a drug? Sometimes when we talk about drugs, some people think it is a drug is a bad thing. But some drugs are okay. It is a substance that is administered. I'm sorry I don't have a prepared PowerPoint presentation. Mine is going to be a mouth point presentation. I don't have the prepared PowerPoint. So a drug is any substance that is introduced in the body of somebody, and it has physiological effects Drugs can be used for medicinal purposes. Once you inject yourself with a drug, then it has effects on you, either to heal you or to cause certain changes. Sometimes they uplift your mood. They make you feel irate, like some people say, or high. Some of these drugs have very harmful effects. And they don't have people like doctors or health professionals to prescribe. So harmful drugs is what we are talking about here, and indeed abuse of them. I have been told severally that there are some drugs like cocaine, marijuana, that are used as medicine in especially Israel for people suffering from cancer, for people suffering from migraines. This is a very bad headache. But they are supposed to be administered by health professionals who are trained, not people who sniff drugs in order to get high, in order to walk in space, in order to fly where there is no plane, in order to get high generally. So this is what we are talking about. Now, physiological, of course, we refer to the normal functioning of the body's organs and systems. Drugs can have effects on these systems like breathing, digestion, circulation, and hormone regulation. Now, in most cases, the kind of drug we are talking about is a drug that people administer to themselves without prescription, and which has a range of negative effects on individuals, including physical health problems, mental health issues, relationship problems, poor work or school performance, and even legal issues. There are some people who come to your schools still today. They want to tell you that drugs will help you pass exams. But that is not the truth. Chronic drug abuse can also lead to addictions. To the extent that there are some people who cannot do anything unless they have injected themselves with a certain drug. They cannot sleep, for instance, because they are addicted. That for one to be able to sleep, he must have injected himself or herself with a certain drug to make them sleep. So that's what we call the chronic drug abuse effects. So in Uganda, of course, drug abuse is regulated under the Narcotics Drugs Act. This narcotics is under the department is under the Ministry of Internal Affairs. I happened to be, when I joined the Internal Affairs in 2007, I happened to work at the airport, Entebbe Airport. We were trained to identify people who move with drugs. But you would see people coming in at the airport, they swallow drugs. Because, of course, when they put them in their bags, they will be noticed and be arrested. So what they do, these people would swallow drugs. Now, when they reach at the airport, they reach at the time you'd say they're about to produce this, they're about to pass it out through defecation process. So by the time they reach Entebbe, you will literally see somebody is finished, is walking as if a lady who is going to give birth. And in most cases, we straight away give them a certain soda. There's a certain type of soda. We give them, and after like 5 minutes, they start passing the pellets out. We take them to the toilet, and they start producing the drugs themselves. And at this time, the person is all finished. The person is all zonked up. The person is all drunk. The person looks very terrible. That is what happens at the airport. So the law does not, of course, condone drugs. Now, I said drugs have effects. What are they? Physical health problems, and I've said that drugs can lead to a variety of physical health issues, of course, including damage to the heart, lungs, the liver, and other organs. Chronic drug abuse can also weaken the immune system, making individuals more susceptible to infections and diseases. We have a young man who is undergoing rehabilitation right now. He's aged only 21. He started taking drugs when he was in senior 4, and he was, I think, 17 years old in senior 4. Somebody introduced drugs and deceived him that when you take these drugs, you'll be very bright, you'll pass everything in class. This young man took drugs, but they have a very bad effect. The liver is all gone, the heart is damaged, the brain, he cannot think properly. Sometimes you see him there, and when he's walking, he's talking to himself. You see him kicking the air. He says, I beat these people. How can you do? Me, I'm a professor. You know, he calls himself what he's not. He has his own world around him. Now, of course, we started looking after him, trying to rehabilitate, but it's now 2 years down the road. The effect is still on. He has not yet recovered. It is good you, the leaders of students, are here. Tell your friends you lead that drugs can have very, very devastating effects on the body physically. The second effect is it can have effect on, of course, this one, you know, mental health issues. It can have very significant impact on the mental health, causing symptoms such as depression. You find somebody seated alone, depressed, anxiety, cognitive impairment. He can't think, and memory problems. A person who has taken drugs may think that he's on top of the world. You get it? He may think that he can fly in air. The drugs can put on, they can make him think that he has wings to fly. They can also make his brain impaired. In other words, he stops thinking like a normal human being. So all of those and memory problems. We had, I'm not going to mention the country, but there's a president who was taking drugs. So one time, they went to a country where they were supposed to address, he was supposed to address a conference. It is very appalling, but it happened. So when he stood up, he looked left, looked right, center, then people were all seated. Then he said, who are these ones in my sitting room? He thought everybody has come to his home. But he was addressing an international conference. He has forgotten that that is a conference, and then he was asking for his wife to serve him food. In a conference like this, he was asking the wife where the wife, but the wife was back home. So you can see how dangerous these drugs can be. If totally forget, you totally become impaired, you totally become disorganized. Completely. The third one, of course, is relationship problems. Drug abuse can strain relationships with family members, friends, romantic partners. Because of drugs, this may lead, of course, to conflicts with family, may lead to misunderstandings. I do not think a sane family or family member will be pleased with you if you are zonked with drugs. So that brings about conflict and broken trust and ultimately damaging social support systems. Social support system, family, friends. If your friends discover that so and so is on drugs, they may disassociate themselves from you and your company, and you'll be isolated. And this is the reason why you see some people becoming depressed. When people abandon you, so and so is into drugs, it becomes a real problem. And this is the onset of depression in most cases, which is very devastating. So it is a cause. Another one is school performance. It can have an effect on school performance or even work for people who have finished school and working. I had a colleague, or we had a colleague actually at the ministry early 2009 who was diagnosed with drugs, and he would come to work already tired at 7 a.m. and he would forget everything that happened last night. And in the evening, when the rest of us are going home at 5 p.m., for him, he thinks his house is at the ministry. He wants to sleep in office. He is talking to himself. You find him asking the tea girls, the office messenger, to lay his bed. Can you lay my bed? Now he forgets that he's in office. You see the effects? Very, 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 very dangerous. So we tried to come in and, try to rehabilitate. But recently he passed on. Because I'm told he was at home, and what killed him was simple. He climbed where the water tank was, and then while there, because of the effect of drugs, he thought he would jump from there to down. So he stood up where they put the tank on the roof and tried to jump, and he hit the head on the paver down, and that is how he died. So drugs are very dangerous. Don't even come near this kind of dangerous drugs. Even in class, you start becoming lousy. The person who used to perform well, you start getting 0. These days you have, they call them activities of integration. It is marked out of 20. You can't do any activity of integration, and before you know it, you are finished. And then time is not on my side, There is also financial problems. These drugs, these illegal drugs are very expensive and can have, they can lead to financial difficulties and strain. And once you get addicted, you want to buy these drugs. A kilo of cocaine is $30,000 US in the US. A kilo of cocaine is $30,000. $30,000 is 100 million Uganda shillings. Just 1 kilo. So if you are addicted, you will want to look for money and buy these drugs. And then finally, also there's a risk of overdose. You may overdose yourself, and hence increasing the risk of life-threatening effects. It can further also increase the risk of death. You run mad, you move walking, talking to yourself, and also in the end, you get issues. And very finally, it is essential, ladies and gentlemen, for individuals struggling with drug abuse to seek help, like now, and support to address that addiction and mitigate the negative effects on the health and well-being of the person. Treatment options such as counseling are key, of course, therapy, and also supporting groups, joining social groups so that people talk to you, and sensitization like we are doing now is really key. Thank you very much for listening to me. We can as well get time. Our offices are here at Old Portbell Road, and we can have a one-on-one as a student leader or anything. My office is always open to anybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Peter Simon Mwende.